the Torah says that when we live in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, we lived in Eretz Yisrael. That if a man if a Jew commits murder, let's say, he would only be put to death under the following circumstances. There's two witnesses that saw him do it. Somebody warned him that this is forbidden. And then we would take it to a court of, I believe, 23 judges. And if they found that he was guilty, then he would be put to death. Okay. Today we don't have a Sanhedrin. We don't have 23 judges. We don't have those kind of courts. We don't even have a Beis Din that has the power to take someone's life away. We don't have that power today. So the question comes up, can you rely on civil law? If the civil courts want to take someone's life away here in America, and even if the person is a Jew, how do we view that? So I wanted to talk about that. Can I talk about that?
Yes.
What's so funny?
Up next is snake handling.
What? I don't understand.
Well, your Rav is a Victor Miller.
Yeah?
Well, my posek has entered the chat room. We all have a Rav.
Okay.
You have a Victor Miller, and my posek has entered the chat room.
Yours is Dennis Prager. Straight. That's all it is. There's different forms of heresy out there everybody follows today. It's either Zionism or you know the Rabbi stuff from Chabad or Pragerism. It's one of those. All right. So the death penalty, right?
Yep.
So the Rambam says in Mishnah Torah Hilchos Malachim 9:14, he paskins that a goy, a non-Jew, may be executed in a Gentile court upon the testimony of only one witness and with only one judge and without any warning. I want to repeat this again because it's very important. Rambam paskins, a non-Jew may be executed in a Gentile court, which would be an American court, American federal court, for murder, one witness, one judge, no warning required. So that answers my nephew's question. In America, what's this guy's name, Loeffner or something?
Yeah, Jared Loeffner.
Right? He's a non-Jew. There's more than one witness. He didn't need any warning. He would be put to death. And if it was like a Noahide court and they were going according to Torah, they could get this business done in a month. If it was a true Noahide court. You know, we're saying we don't, you know, we're following Noahide law. We don't care about this, you know, rights for the accused and all this crap. You know, whatever they call it here in America, right? We could get this guy out of here in 1 month. That's what my personal belief is. I'll tell you what else. The whole business of requiring 23 judges and having two witnesses and having a warning. The Or Sameach, you know who that is? The Or Sameach?
Yeah, famous rabbinic commentator.
Yeah, he was about 150 years ago. He concludes that the cases of a Jewish king and a Noahide court are analogous in lowering the standards. In other words, look at it another way. The Torah raised the standards for capital punishment administered by a Jewish court. In other words, the bottom line, what Torah is fine with, is a Noahide court with one witness, right? No warning, and you can put somebody to death. That's the bottom line. That's the minimum requirement, right? In other words, and a king could do that as well. That's why he mentioned it. A Jewish king had the power to take someone's life away based on one witness, no warning, blah, 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 blah. But we take it to a higher level when we do a Jewish court requires 23, and you got to have two witnesses, and was that on the whole time or not?
Yeah, I was just turning off the sound.
Because we have to restart the whole show with the music and everything. 23 and the warning. Okay, so that's a higher level. That's only for a Jewish court in the times of the Sanhedrin. By the way, incidentally, a number of poskim over the centuries have poskin that Jews can be tried and put to death in a Goyish court for murder, And yeah, so we follow the law of the land.
And also, if you just look historically, what have Jewish communities done in the last 2,000 years? Have they said, "Oh, this murderer wasn't warned, and there weren't two witnesses, or, who gave him a warning"? That's not the way Jewish communities have operated. Jewish communities have put people to death over the past 2,000 years without these elaborate safeguardings that are in certain sections of the Talmud. So people need to realize that though the Talmud is a book of law, it's primarily a theoretical discussion of law. It's very different from the way individual rabbis have ruled in individual communities with their individual circumstances.
I would not agree with that statement. The Talmud is the oral tradition, is the oral Torah from God. The reason why even though it says certain things we can't do today because they require that the Jews are in power in Eretz Yisrael. And we don't have that today. We don't have a Sanhedrin. If we had a Sanhedrin, like in the times that we were there for 1,000 years, with Shlomo Melech and David Melech, these laws applied back then. And we had a Sanhedrin, and we could theoretically put someone to death with 23 people, 23 judges sitting on a court.
Well, for whatever the reason, the Talmud is a discussion. It comes back from ancient times. The traditional belief is that the oral Torah comes from God the same way as the written Torah. But the way that individual communities and individual rabbis have ruled over the past 2,000 years is not always in accordance with a particular text in the Talmud. They have to interpret the whole body of Jewish law within each context, and often Jewish law will be significantly adapted to a different circumstance. So also we have the principal codes of Jewish law. I think the first one came about around the 12th century. Rambam did his famous Mishnah Torah, which is codification of Jewish law. Then there's the condensed version in the Shulchan Aruch, which is generally binding on Jews who live by Torah. But still, there were rabbis that would need to decide these things in a particular community, and they weren't always going by, oh, there's one thing in the Talmud that says this, therefore the discussion's over. No, there are many things outside of the Talmud that also bear on how to rule in
what are you talking about? What things outside of the Talmud?
Well, what's a brisa?
A brisa?
Yeah.
A brisa is part of the Talmud.
Well, there are like sections that were codified in the Mishnah, and
right.
Then the brisa,
there's three things. There's a Mishnah. In the times of the Tanas taught three things.
Mm-hmm.
In the times of the Mishnah, Mishnahs, brisas, and Toseftas.
Okay, so the brisas are not actually part of the Mishnah, but they do form part of the Talmud. But as the Talmud was being compiled and put together, there were then rabbinic commentaries on the Talmud that often have very significant weight in how Jewish law is applied. So if the Talmud says something in one page, that does not mean that's the definitive ruling for how Jewish law applies to certain situations.
Yeah.
There are thousands of pages of Talmudic discussions, and there are thousands of pages of rabbinic discussions on those discussions. And so and then there are different circumstances. So God's law is universal, but the way it's going to be applied will be different in certain instances. For instance, I need to start giving examples.
Yeah, I don't even know what your point is with all this. Just get to that.
Well, the point is, just because it says in one section of the Talmud that you need to have two witnesses and you need the perpetrator of the murder needs to be warned beforehand, that's not the way. That's not the end of the discussion of the death penalty in Jewish life. Jewish communities have dealt with the issue of the death penalty and have put people to death, and it hasn't been in accord with what one particular section of the Talmud says about dealing with the death penalty. So, for instance, aside from the death penalty, there will be situations where the rabbis say, do not compromise on any observance of Jewish law. Like, it's better to give up